Hey Vince, it's Taylor here from class, responding to your Prezi, and let me say I hear both sides of your argument really well, and I gotta say I am against censorship, obviously, being in the teaching profession, and we'll explain why later. Um, Sorry if this is choppy, I don't usually make YouTube videos, actually never, this will be my first, so if I kind of jump around, just bear with me. Um, so first and foremost, I researched two articles that I thought were really enlightening, more so than what we hear about just in passing from other professors or other classes. One is by a guy named David Martinson. He wrote a great article. He was a communications professor. He was a journalism professor and wrote a lot about communication theory. And so one of the things that he brought up mainly in regards to censorship in education, mainly education, was that would-be censors and educators need to be educated on the law concerning censorship, and that there's this thing called the incitement standard, where essentially, if there's no clear and present danger, um, a book technically, or any sort of media, doesn't have to be removed if it's not inciting action on the student's end, in our part. Um, he also mentions the magic bullet, the media being the magic bullet, and essentially, as soon as a student um, sees something on TV or reads about something, it's immediately ingrained in their head, and they can sort of take off with it, and that's false. What we actually need to be more concerned about are long-term effects. And actually, I have a quote here that I'd like to use. Um, let's see if I can find it here. I have to use two computers here because my printer is busted. Okay, so essentially, the media's content impact is dependent on many factors. Some involve the content, some reflect the situation surrounding the media use, and some involve the background of the media consumer. And now, if we bring it down to, I guess another example would be um, cigarette smoking, which he mentions in his article. You won't necessarily be addicted to cigarettes and smoking if you smoke one cigarette. What matters is if down the road you're smoking 3 packs a day, the long-term effects are somewhat in the favor of causing problems for you health-wise. Well, the same thing applies to media and books alike. The more someone is exposed to violent television or some sort of vulgar and grotesque novel, which as teachers we probably wouldn't recommend unless it has some serious purpose to it. We wouldn't use those things if we knew that was going to happen, if we knew there's going to be some sort of long-term negative consequence to teaching a certain book for a month at a time or however long our unit plan is. We wouldn't teach it. And a lot of people, especially parents, get confused by that, and they believe in the magic bullet. They believe that as soon as their child reads that first page, or they read the title of the book, it's already, oh nope, can't do it. We can't do this. What matters is the long-term effects. With that being said, you mentioned this in your Prezi that the more we educate parents and talk to them more calmly about the situation and about why the book's being used, the more better off we are in kind of winning our argument. And with that being said, even when parents do complain, the right to complain doesn't necessarily mean censorship. So they can say really all that they want about the book, but in the process of complaining, the book doesn't have to not be taught. That actually, in some schools would have to go through a bit of a, I guess maybe not bureaucratic, but more of a system until they can find out, why they should stop teaching a book. There's a quote here actually that says, David Martinson, the gentleman who wrote the article, quoted another gentleman named Jenkinson, who said, like as I said, the right to complain does not guarantee removal of materials. More specifically, Jenkinson recommends procedures for handling complaints about books should be written so that no one has the right to remove anything unilaterally. he insists that any objection that goes beyond the informal discussion stage should require a formal complaint. Then, during that period, the book will be considered objectionable, will not be removed. So even during the complaint process, the book can still be taught. So essentially what Martinson was getting at through his article was that in order to be a teacher or be an educator of any sort, you need to be at least have some sophistication and knowledge of the law regarding censorship so that you can look out for yourself and still teach what you want to teach, but also, not upset the community. Which brings me to my next guy, Ken Donelson, who also wrote another great article, a little bit older of an article, but still nonetheless relevant. I believe he wrote it in the late 80s, early 90s. This was a bit of a lengthier article, but touched on the same things that Martinson did, and essentially was talking about how, a few things here. One being that you need to keep your staff in the know about your censorship and what books you might be concerned about. We talked about this in class about not having your principal get the phone call and be completely slapped across the face with this censorship. And then with that being said, some teachers, as Donelson says, some teachers will be teaching a book and not know that their other colleague is teaching the same book but is being questioned for censorship of it. So it's always good to keep each other in the loop about it so that we can know how to react efficiently. Let's see here. Moving forward, Ken Donelson also mainly touches on the fact that censorship mainly comes from the parents. And going back to David's article, as long as we can keep them informed and at least give them a purpose as to why the book is relevant, why the themes or the characters or the situations that take place in the novel are beneficial to students, parents can usually, I would assume, and judging by the facts, see eye to eye with the teacher and not know that, or know that the teacher, his or herself is not blatantly trying to, put an impression on kids that doesn't need to be there. And last but not least, sorry to rag on here, Donelson, kind of ends on a nice sort of philosophical note that if you believe in education, you have to care about censorship, because if you do truly want to teach a certain book or show a certain movie or documentary, you need to be aware of censorship. You need to be aware of the law. You need to be aware of how you're going to talk to parents, keeping your teaching community in the know, and letting them know what's going on, and utilizing your resources. But if you believe in education, you have to care about censorship. So to wrap up, I am against censorship. I would like to, always branch out and find new books and different books to use that can touch on the same topics and same themes and same range as all the canonized books have today. And it's not that I'm tired of them, but it would be nice to throw in some diversity. It keeps us happy and it keeps the students happy. So for now, that's what I got, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.